and what you've been through, do you still consider yourself to be CEO of Australia Post?
My contract has never been resolved, and many people will know that on LinkedIn it still says CEO of Australia Post.
You handed over or sent by email at 10:46 a.m. a letter to the chair and the board, actually the board, a letter of resignation. Can you explain that letter that you wrote?
I absolutely can, Senator. I may be able to refer you to my submission. Actually, rather than go to my main submission, I sent another document yesterday, but I could ask the senators to refer to that. It's the paper which is titled My Response to Australia Post Submission. You will see there, detailed in there, that at 10:46, after the 10 most harrowing days of my career, I wrote to the chair and board of Australia Post and said I felt my position was untenable.
And I'll just clarify the date, that was November the 2nd.
That was November the 2nd. I asked in that a cover note, I said I'd like this to be resolved today, and I sought no financial compensation. You will see that in my submission I give the opinion of Ingmar Taylor, who's a leading SC in employment matters, and he highlights that in my employment contract, point 14.1, which I've also given to the committee, it says very clearly any variation to my contract requires both parties to sign it. I think what you'll find, Senator, is at 1:30, sitting in a room with my lawyer, Brian Belling.
Can I just lead in to ask you these questions? Right. You also provided a statement with that letter, didn't you?
That's correct, Senator.
At any point in time that day, did you release that statement?
I released that statement after at 1:30 we were told Sky News had a copy and we were being questioned to say, was it mine or not? At about somewhere between 2:20 and 2:30 that afternoon, after considerable media response, I admitted it was my statement.
But
it was
you
not
release that statement?
I who leaked it to Sky News.
Right. The only one to have that statement was actually the board.
It was only the board
Bartolomeo.
and the people who were sitting in that room with me, which was Teresa, Brian Belling, Ross Thornton and Max Kimber. We were all in the same room. What,
if we go back to the fact is you were sitting in the room with other people and you saw it come across on Sky News at 1:30 that afternoon. Going by the, you sent that letter through to the board at 10:46 a.m. There is, under the Australia Post submission, 2.4.5, they said the board meeting reconvened that day at 2:45 p.m. on the 2nd of November 2020, at which time the board discussed the public statement released by Ms Holgate at approximately 2 p.m. and Australia Post response.
There's two things I'd like to say, Senator. Against the advice of everybody around me, I chose to attach that statement to the letter because I wanted to prove to the board I was not criticising them or the government. Foolishly, I was trying to do the honourable thing and show them what I would say publicly so that they would support me.
Yeah.
What happened, Senator, though, was we did not release anything at 2 o'clock.
Right.
I did not give a copy of the statement to Ross Thornton till approximately 2:20.
Correct. And that's why I'm asking you I want these answers, direct answers. You did not release that statement. The only one who had the statement was the board, himself and the chair. You actually are denying that you released that statement. The first you had any knowledge of it being the media was at 1:30, and it could only have been released by the chair. Yet in his statement here, he says they reconvened the meeting at 2:45 to discuss about the statement that you released. So it didn't come from them. Another thing that I want to put to you is the fact is that under your contract, and you pointed to 10.1 of the contract, it actually states there, what does 10... I haven't got it with me. 14.1. it does state that both parties, have you got a copy of it there?
I have.
Okay. 14.1, and this is why I question about you still being the CEO of Australia Post. Although you may have handed over a letter of resignation as an offering, it was supposed to be for discussion by the chair, which you said you were waiting to hear back from him. Under 14.1 it says that this document may only be varied or replaced by a document executed by both parties. By you handing over a letter of resignation does not mean that you are released from your contract. It has to be agreed upon by the board and signed by both parties. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So therefore you are still the CEO of Australia Post by law under your contract.
Yes.
I'm totally not sure, but what I do know is that I have signed no deed of release. They unlawfully stood me down, and I have asked many times, Pauline, to resolve this amicably.
Your lawyers have actually asked for the documentation because in the chair's submission, he has stated that he has actually got copies of documents signed by you. Is that correct?
Nobody has. I have not signed any release.
He's stating that he does have documents there. You and your lawyers have asked for that. Nothing has been forthcoming. There is no documentation that you're aware of. He has not produced any.
None whatsoever.